Hello, I'm Ollie and this is Criminally, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, vintage crime, cosy crime and Sweet Valley High. It's my weekly wrap-up. So I've had a really fun reading week this week. I've just really enjoyed it. I haven't read anything even remotely taxing, and I've had a great time as a result. So I've got a bunch of books to talk to you about today. I've got through a lot this week. All shorter books, all fairly easy books, all really enjoyable. And this has got me to 10 books on my Read What You Own challenge. So I started that on the 5th of November and I'm already at 10 books. So I've made a really good start to it. If you don't know, the Read What You Own challenge is where you read a set number of books. You can set your own target before you buy any new books. If you look in my videos on the channel, there's various videos talking about it. So yeah, I've hit 10 already. So I'm very pleased with that progress. So, as usual in this weekly video, I'll talk about what I've read and then talk about what's been on the channel and what's coming on the channel. The other thing, just to say right at the top as well, is this week, like many people, I've started using Blue Sky. So Blue Sky, if you don't know, is an alternative to Twitter. Loads of people, given Elon Musk's influence, shall we say, and the direction that Twitter has gone in, have left Twitter this week. I am one of them, so I am finally going to deactivate my Twitter account. I've been a Twitter user since 2007, so I've used it for ages. I hadn't really used it much in the last few years. I did briefly start using it again fairly recently, but I've decided enough is enough and I'm quitting. So you can now find me on Blue Sky. There'll be a link to my Blue Sky profile in the description to this video. If you're one of the other people who's jumped ship and you want to follow me there, then please feel free. It seems like a very friendly and enjoyable place to hang out so far, I have to say. We'll see how long that lasts, but so far so good. Right, let's talk about what I've read this week then. So this, I think I was reading last week when I filmed this video. So this is Perry Rhodan, Book 8, The Galactic Riddle by Clark Darlton, albeit I don't think it was actually by Clark Darlton. So as I said last week, this is from a very long-running series of German, like, sci-fi novellas, basically, about this guy, Perry Rhodan, who travels around the galaxy righting wrongs with his crew. It's a bit kind of Star Trek-y. It's that kind of hopeful sci-fi, I guess, where people are, going out into the universe to do good. In this one, they're investigating a missing planet. So there's a solar system that should have one more planet than it's actually got. They're investigating that. Perry Rhodan's gang are like kind of telepaths and ESPers and all sorts of different people, basically, and they work together to uncover and resolve this mystery. So it was very silly, but it was a lot of fun. It's got a lot of kind of sci-fi slang. So it came out, I can't remember, was it the 60s or 70s? It's got that kind of 60s, 70s sci-fi vibe. Yeah, so this English edition was published in 71. So I don't know if the original German came out in the 60s or the 70s. But yeah, it's got that kind of, it's got ray guns, it's got a positronic brain instead of a computer and things like that. So a really enjoyable read. After that, something of a similar vintage. So I read this, The Sailcloth Shroud by Charles Williams. Look at this gorgeous edition. I love the red edging to the pages. So this was just a really tight, enjoyable mystery novel. So about this guy who has sailed a boat back from somewhere in the Caribbean, I think, back to the States. And there were three people on the boat, three people on the boat, including him. One of them died during the voyage of a heart attack, and the other one gets murdered soon after they get back to land. And the police come to talk to him about it, as you might expect, and it's about him trying to unravel what has gone on, including trying to, basically replaying the events of that sea voyage in his own mind to see if his recollection of events and how the guy died is correct. So just a really enjoyable, tight mystery. Enjoyed it very much indeed, and looking forward to reading some more Charles Williams. After that, some more crime, somewhat cosier. This was Agatha Raisin and the Potted Gardener. So I listened to the audiobook of this, or started on the audiobook, and then read some of the, finished it off in the paperback last Sunday. Agatha Raisin is a perfect accompaniment to a Sunday afternoon, I find. So this, of course, by MC Beaton. So in this one, Agatha Raisin, who's this slightly grumpy woman who's retired from a successful job and moved to the countryside, to this small town. There's a woman who is like a rival of hers, shall we say, in a gardening competition, who ends up dead, and it's about Agatha Raisin trying to solve that mystery. There's a nice romantic subplot which has been running through the books up to this point, which continues in this book, and it's just a fun, cosy, enjoyable read. Some decent humour, a decent mystery. So yeah, perfect Sunday afternoon reading. After that, then, I read the second book in this Charmed double, which I got from a charity shop a little while ago. So this was originally published by, or only available at W.H. Smith's, which is a big like UK newsagents and bookseller. Interestingly, and this shows what little regard for logic or readers like companies like W.H. Smith have when they put these omnibus volumes together. So the first book in this, which I read, I think during Occult Detective October, so last month, was The Power of Three, which is the first book in the series. So these are novelisations of books, novelisations of episodes of the TV show Charmed. So the first book, Power of Three, is a novelisation of the first episode of Charmed, so like the origin story of the three sisters. So really entertaining to read and a good start. The book that I read this week, Haunted by Desire, which was by Cameron Dokey, I should say. No, Cameron Dokey's name, not even on the cover anywhere, is like the 7th or 8th book in the series. Why they didn't just include the second book, I don't know. But anyway, it was fun enough. So there's two plot lines running through it. So Charmed, if you don't know, is these three sisters who are witches. And in the first book, they've discovered they're witches. In this book, they're kind of used to being witches. So there's two storylines. One is about this handsome, mysterious guy who two of the sisters fall in love with and end up arguing about in an unsisterly way, which makes you suspect there's something a bit more going on, which indeed there is. So there's one storyline about that, and then the other one is around some like historic murders at the local university, and ghosts that are haunting the university as a result of that. And the third sister gets involved in investigating those murders. So very throwaway stuff, but as Charmed as a TV show was, but really quite entertaining. And then we move into the main event, if you like, for my reading week, which was to read this trilogy of Sweet Valley High books. So I've never read Sweet Valley High, probably not surprisingly. So I was slightly too old for like my sister even to have read them, I think, when you know, back in the day when they came out. And I suspect maybe they just weren't such a big thing over here as they were in the States. Certainly lots of people in the comments have said, you know, that you know, they read these books as when they were teenagers, that, you know, their friends read them. I think they are, you know, were hugely successful with teenage girls in the States back in the kind of 80s and 90s. But yes, I had never read them. I've always not always, have recently become attracted to the idea of them. I love this kind of mass-produced fiction, you know, written to order, written very quickly, written to a formula often. I think it often has a lot to offer, a lot more to offer than people might suspect. And that was definitely the case with these books. So this is a trilogy of books. So they are numbers 104, 105 and 106 in the Sweet Valley High series. It says Francine Pascal on the cover, but they were actually written by Kate William. And this is a trilogy that, you know, sits within the longer Sweet Valley High series called the Horror in London trilogy. So Sweet Valley High is about these two twins, Elizabeth, and almost forgot their names there, which is terrible, Elizabeth and Jessica, who live in Sweet Valley in California. In these books, they go to London. So they go to London to serve as interns on a London newspaper. And there's a werewolf killing people. So I was expecting the violence and murder in these books to be like, you know, well, I was kind of expecting there to be no actual deaths, but there are several deaths in these books. They're not like graphically described, but you learn that people have had their throats ripped out. So I was surprised by that, but also just surprised by how deftly Kate William, the author, managed to juggle all the different elements in these books. So there are crime elements, there's strong mystery elements, there's an element of horror, there's tons of references to the movie An American Werewolf in London, which I guess makes sense, but seemed a bit out of place for for a YA series of books, perhaps, especially as these books came out like I think 13 or 14 years after An American Werewolf in London. So yeah, strong horror element, or reasonably strong horror elements, strong mystery elements, a lot of romance. So the sisters get involved in various romances with various boys that they meet in London, but just all hung together really, really well. It's just enjoyable. All those parts, none of the three elements, the horror, the crime, or the romance, overwhelmed the other parts of the books. And I just found it a really satisfying experience reading it. It's terribly formulaic. It uses loads of like cliched plot devices and things like that, but just really, really fun and enjoyable. So I had a great time with these books. I am going to do a full review. I think they're going to be fun books to talk about. So yeah, I'm going to do a full review where I talk in a bit more depth about them. And then in terms of currently reading, so I'm currently reading, or rather listening to, but I think I am going to start reading it, Blood Standard by Laird Barron. So this was very kindly sent to me some time ago by a viewer called Dan Lehman Kennedy. So thank you very much, Dan, if you're watching. I finally got to this. Sorry it's taken me so long. This is just really, really good. So the first in the series about this guy called Isaiah Coleridge, who's like half American, half Maori, who is like a gangster enforcer, basically, a mafia enforcer who's been living in Alaska, enforcing stuff for the mafia in Alaska, and ends up like falling out of favour, basically, for various reasons, and comes back to the States and is like staying on a farm to recuperate, and ends up getting involved in a mystery, like a local girl who he's come to know disappears, basically, and it's about him investigating that. But it's just really gritty, really gripping, really enjoyable. Isaiah as a central character is fantastic. It's got a lovely hardboiled feel to it. I'm enjoying it enormously, and I can definitely see myself reading some more Laird Barron. This definitely feels like a crime thriller so far. Laird Barron, I know, also writes horror, so I don't know if this is going to end up with horror elements too. But so far, just enjoying it enormously. So that's my reading week. In terms of channel stuff then, so on the channel in the last week you've had a couple of kind of top 10 style videos. So I did a video where, although I don't think in either of the videos did I talk about 10 books. So one was 12 crime series that I'm have enjoyed or am enjoying reading that I was kind of recommending to people, so crime, thriller, mystery type series. And the other one was a series where a video where I'd done a video a couple of weeks ago where I talked about the fact that the horror genre is seems to be booming a bit in the UK at the moment, but when you look at the best-selling horror books, they're all like either by Stephen King or like really old books. So somebody suggested I do a video where I give recommendations for, if you like this book from that bestseller list, you might also like this book. So I did a video talking about, various books I recommend that are like some of these bestsellers. And people seem to have really enjoyed that video. So hopefully you've got some good recommendations out of that if you watched it. I also did finally my review of Shogun by James Clavell, a book I've been trying to read for about 30 years and finally managed to read. So did my review of that, and then also did my final book haul before starting the Read What You Own challenge. So a final few things that have come in, including those Sweet Valley High books. In the week ahead, I haven't quite figured out exactly what I'm going to do yet. I'm definitely going to do a review of the Penstar eNote tablet, which I showed on the channel a little while ago and did an unboxing video for. I'm also going to do a review of the Sweet Valley High trilogy that I just talked about, and I'm going to do a follow-up video to that crime recommendations video where I talk about some crime series that people have recommended to me, some of which I've tried before, and I only read like 1 or 2 books from, and some of which I haven't tried at all, but crime series that I really want to give a go. So look out for that in the coming week, and then there will be another video. I haven't quite decided what yet. I need to put my thinking cap on and figure that out this weekend. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed that. Do let me know in the comments what you've been reading this week. Give me a follow on Blue Sky if you're on there, and as always, thanks very much for watching. Hope you're safe and well out there. Hope you're reading good stuff, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.